They wanted me to speak about diversity right after they made me invisible. I never thought the worst kind of racism would sound polite. Sometimes it speaks softly, with corporate smiles and constructive dialogue. I work in architecture, one of those fields where people still pretend it's all about talent, not image. I'm half black, half Korean. Growing up, I learned to be good at blending in. By the time I hit 30, I could read a room within seconds, how white I needed to sound, how foreign I was allowed to look. The firm I work for is prestigious skyscrapers, luxury condos, museums. 500 employees, maybe 6 people of color in the whole building. When they finally hired me, it felt like breaking a glass ceiling. My mom cried. I promised her I'd prove I belonged there. The first 2 years went quietly. I worked overtime, took notes, kept my head down. My design started getting attention. My supervisor joked I was his secret weapon. Everything felt almost equal until the protest summer hit. You know the kind: headlines, hashtags, politicians posting black squares. Suddenly every company wanted to show how progressive they were. Our firm was no different. Within a week, HR released a statement promising to amplify diverse voices. Monday morning, I had 40 unread emails asking if I'd like to share my perspective. Not one of them mentioned the obvious, that I was the only black senior designer they had. They scheduled a company meeting with the theme Perspectives on Inclusion. I told myself I'd speak honestly. I spent the weekend writing a small speech, positive but real. About microaggressions at work, about clients assuming I'm the intern, about how diversity isn't a statistic, it's belonging. The morning of the event, HR called me into a side office. One of the directors, a man who has never looked up from his phone while talking to me, smiled and said, "Just so you know, we're very proud of your piece. But maybe avoid anything too political, okay? Keep it inspiring." I smiled back. Sure. Inside I wanted to throw up. When my turn came, I began with my rehearsed notes, then froze halfway through. I looked around the room, faces nodding mechanically, eyes already glazing over. I dropped the paper and said, "Do any of you actually know who the janitor is? Or the front desk clerk? Or the only other black engineer on the 4th floor? Do you ever even talk to them?" Silence. Even the air conditioner seemed to stop. After a minute, the director laughed nervously and started clapping. Others joined in, not knowing whether they were agreeing with me or trying to drown me out. By the time it was over, I felt hollow, not proud. The next day, my inbox exploded. Half the messages were from employees thanking me privately for being brave. The other half were from management: "Let's have a conversation about tone, maybe we can help you reframe it, great energy, but be more positive next time." I didn't lose my job, but the shift was instant. Suddenly, I wasn't their secret weapon anymore. I was a risk. Projects I used to lead started being reassigned for scheduling efficiency. Meetings went on without me. My reviews turned vague: collaboration opportunities, attitude balance. But the real punch came a month later. The firm won a national award for community outreach, partly because of that very speech. My quote was on the brochure. My photo on their diversity page. No one asked permission. The caption read, "Our company values inclusivity and equal voices." Equal voices. Except when you use yours for something uncomfortable. I confronted HR. They said it was public material, that using my image represented shared values. Then they offered me a new title: Community Equity Advisor. No raise. No project leadership. Just a label. A mascot with a cubicle. For 3 months I played along. Took notes, attended pointless meetings about vision statements. Until one day, I walked into the lobby and saw the janitor, Mr. Lewis, 60-something, quiet man with tired hands. I finally asked if management ever talked to him during their diversity initiatives. He smiled sadly and said, "They talked to me once, to ask if I'd stop using the freight elevator when guests are around." That night, I stayed late, copied every company post, every promotional document where they used my words and image without consent, and sent it anonymously to a journalist I used to study with in college. 2 weeks later, the article came out. Architect firm uses black employee as diversity face without credit. It went viral for a day. Just one day. By Monday, my keycard stopped working. They called it an administrative lockout due to investigation. I didn't go back. They offered a settlement and NDA 2 months later. I signed. Mom begged me to. Bills don't pay themselves. Publicly, the firm apologized for unintended oversights. Privately, I drowned in silence. That was 2 years ago. Now I work freelance, smaller projects, quieter life. Sometimes I miss the big firm energy, that feeling of scale and ambition. But then I remember the applause that day, the sound of polite hands clapping because they were terrified of real honesty, and I realize I never really belonged there anyway. I wasn't a designer to them. I was decor. And the day I stopped matching the color palette, they redecorated. The picture they hung in the hallway. There's a picture of me that still hangs in my old school. They put it there the same week they suspended me. It's from sophomore year, our basketball team holding the district trophy, everyone grinning with sweat and confetti on our faces. I'm in the middle, the only black kid on the team, mouth open mid-laugh. If you didn't know what happened later, you'd think it was a happy memory. I used to believe sports could make people forget about race for a while. Turns out, it only makes them remember it when you stop playing by their rules. We were the heroes that season. Everyone in town came to the games, families, teachers, even the mayor once. We weren't rich kids, our gym roof leaked when it rained. But when we won, it felt like we owned something that couldn't be taken away. Until prom night. The team had rented a limo together. We were doing everything by the book: shirts, ties, corsages. My girlfriend at the time, Lily, was white. Nobody said much about it, but I could feel the eyes every time we walked the halls. At prom, the principal made a speech about unity and pride. I remember thinking how fake it sounded. Then this sophomore, drunk and stupid, made a joke loud enough for everyone to hear. Bet he stole his tux, right? People laughed. Even some teammates. Lily squeezed my hand, I told her to ignore it. I had learned anger made things worse. So I smiled, danced, pretended it didn't hit me like a brick. 2 days later, my coach called me into the office. On his desk lay a printed screenshot, my face photoshopped on a mugshot background with the caption, "Straight outta Walmart." It had been posted to a private team group chat. I recognized the usernames. Some of those same guys were my friends. "Heard about this?" Coach asked. I said no, though I'd seen it already. My cousin had forwarded it to me that morning, furious. Coach sighed. "We'll handle it internally. Don't make a scene." That phrase, "don't make a scene," followed me for months. The school requested I keep quiet to avoid media attention. They suspended 2 players for 3 days and called it resolved. But the story didn't end. People started whispering that I'd overreacted, that I'd brought race into everything. Teachers who once praised me now avoided eye contact. Even Lily's parents told her she deserved someone with fewer problems. The next game, I benched myself. Said my ankle hurt. No one asked questions. By the following month, I quit the team. A few weeks later, the principal called me into her office. She said the district was planning a diversity initiative, and they wanted to use one of our team photos for the press release to show unity after misunderstanding. She slid the photo across her desk, the championship shot. The same one that hangs there now. I asked why they needed to use that one. She said, "Because you're smiling in it." I told her no. She said the media deadline had passed, it was already printed. They never asked the others for permission. They didn't have to. White kids' faces don't need consent to represent forgiveness. Months later, the photo went up on the hallway wall beside a plaque that read, "Celebrating diversity and teamwork." Everyone congratulated the school for healing. They even invited me to the ceremony. I didn't go. The summer after graduation, I moved out of town. Never looked back. 2 years ago, my mother sent me a link to the school website. They'd redone the lobby. The picture was still there. The plaque too. But now the caption underneath read: "When we stand together, nothing divides us." I stared at it for a long time. Because what they really meant was, when you stop talking about it, nothing divides us. Someday I might go back and take that picture down myself. Not because I'm ashamed, but because sometimes silence is so polished, it looks like pride. And I'm done being decor for their lessons about unity.